addition to that, the appeal hearing, there was no additional information concerning the napping at the fair and napping at the rec department, but he did present information to say that while he was at the council meeting, he only, not the council meeting, but the department head meeting, he only had closed his eyes and nodded just for a split second when Ms. Cartwright nudged him. Any event, all that as it may be, the city council, based on the inaccurate, if not false information that was provided to them when they approved the written reprimand, based on what Mr. Lynn had told them had occurred, not only on the field, but that he had not been at work, and that was clearly shown not to be the case in either instance, voted to withdraw and remove the written reprimand and allow Mr. Osborne to come back to work on light duty. That vote, when it was taken, was approved by all council members, all 5 council members, Mr. Scott, Mr. Brower, Mr. Damon Ron, Mr. Blackwell, and Mr. Kirkland. Ms. Taylor abstained from voting on that. Yeah, the open records. Now, after that appeal hearing, members of council hearing that there were statements from members of the rec department that, one, were concerned for retaliation, and two, that there were statements concerning the facts that backed up Mr. Lynn's allegations in his reprimand, wanted to see those to find out what they were. So after the appeal hearing, several members of the city council went to City Hall to ask for those statements concerning Osborne's conduct that Mr. Lynn stated were available and in the file. Once again, it's a multitude of statements. Statements that back up Mr. Lynn's allegations in his reprimand, and statements from rec department employees that concerned only retaliation. In fact, that appeal hearing, which is recorded, I specifically asked Mr. Lynn, when he mentioned the 3 statements about retaliation, I asked him, are those statements the same? He indicated they were not, because the statements that he were talking about was the 3 statements of the retaliation issues that concern the rec employees. City council members went there to look at the files to determine whether they wanted to see what those statements said. They were unable to access those files. Those files, who were supposed to be in the custody and control of the records clerk for the city, which is in the charter of this city, who is the city clerk, she had no access to them. The only person who had access and a key to them at that point in time was Mr. Lynn. Mr. Lynn gave, upon request, did give the key to Ms. King, and the council members came back to look at the files. When the files were presented, there were no statements, written or otherwise, in those files that from any of the rec employees that backed up Mr. Lynn's allegations as he, in the discipline document that he told mayor and council it existed. And if they existed, he didn't supply them to Mr. Osborne on an open records request, which is required by state law. The city clerk knew that there may possibly be statements somewhere else because the city is in transition, moving from written files over to electronic files. So she looked at the HR files that had been scanned, and she found two statements in those HR files. Those statements were from Alex Pitts and Ashton Pearson. There were no written statements. They were unable to locate any documents whatsoever in the files. This statement by Ms. Pitts correlates to the documents that Mr. Lynn told mayor and council on the 24th that existed, backing up his allegations for and reasons for disciplining Mr. Osborne. On Friday, April 14th, I saw Michael Osborne at the Macomber Ballpark shoveling dirt around base and looking for a base anchor. So in reality, these statements do exist. For whatever reason, they were hidden, apparently, or removed, because Mr. Lynn knew that they existed, and when he responded, put the open records email back up. When he responded to the open records email, he said that the only two statements that he had, this is the very top one, to those open records requests, was that it was from a staff member regarding sleeping in the department head. We now know that's the finance director who gave that statement, and we have that statement. And a statement that he sent to mayor and council himself.
For
one additional, put that one back up. One additional fact is when he told mayor and council on April 24th that he had these written statements from the members of Recreation, this statement from Ms. Pitts wasn't done until April 25th, 2023, the day after he told mayor and council that he had these statements. Moving to the next issue, unauthorized expenditure of government funds and violations of state and federal law. On May 23rd, on May 22nd, 2023, an employee from the Public Works Department for the city of Rincon sent an email to Jonathan Lynn explaining to him that he needed money for personal expenses and that he wanted to ask Mr. Lynn for a loan to pay his rent in the amount of $4,666.48. Jonathan Lynn approved this loan from the City of Lincoln's general fund to be provided to the employee in the amount of $4,666.48. This is an unauthorized loan. It was funded with general fund and taxpayer money. This was not a budgeted item. It does not appear in a budget and would never appear in a budget. Nor is it a legal debt which the city is obligated only to pay under the law. They're only supposed to pay legal debts. This does not exist. Loans do not to employees. Mr. Lynn misappropriated unbudgeted funds to fund this loan. Jonathan Lynn never contacted City Council, the mayor, or sought legal advice regarding this loan or its legality of it. Mr. Lynn is not an authorized signator on the checking account, meaning that he does not have the authority to sign checks for the city of Lincoln, Georgia. The only authorized individuals are through a resolution at the bank, and that is mayor and the council members. Mr. Lynn appeared to attempt to circumvent the normal process for issuing checks for payments. The normal process is that the finance department would print a check, a real City of Lincoln check, a real City of Lincoln check, and it would be processed through finance, and then it would be presented to the mayor and one council member or to two council members for signature. It requires 2 signatures for approval and for execution and negotiation of that check. Mr. Lynn had been with the city since September of 2022. Mr. Lynn knew that he was not a signator on the account. Mr. Lynn also, and by the way, before we came here, we verified that with the bank. We're not here saying something that can't be verified. He knew that he wasn't a signator. In addition to that, these council members and mayor go weekly, if not 2 to 3 times a week, to City Hall to sign checks for payments to vendors and services and everything else. At no time in the presence of these council members or former council member Damon Ron did Mr. Lynn sign checks. And we're not talking about 5 checks. We're not talking about 10 checks. We're talking about probably hundreds of checks over his tenure with the city. The normal process of having the check processed through finance and printed was not followed. Mr. Lynn apparently went to the bank and filled out a counter check. One that's not a normal check for the city of Lincoln. He filled out the counter check and he signed the counter check. That first signature is his according to the people at the bank. This would be highly inappropriate, signing a check without proper authorization. It presented to the bank for the transaction. The bank apparently declined to act on that check. Mr. Lynn then apparently contacted former council member Damon Ron for him to come to the bank to sign the check and authorize the transaction. That information is according to the finance director and the individuals at the bank. Jonathan Lynn authorized for a cashier's check in the amount of $4,668.48 to be provided to Mr. Brown as a loan from the city of Rincon. This authorization by Mr. Jonathan Lynn was made without city council's and mayor's knowledge or approval. Former council member Damon Ron signed this check at the bank at the request of Jonathan Lynn because Jonathan Lynn did not have the authority through the bank to authorize this money to be provided to America Homes for rent. However, because mayor and city council signed checks, it's inferred that they at least inquire into what they're signing and what they're authorizing payment for. It can only be inferred from Mr. Ron's signature that he was aware of the reason for the check and approved and authorized the loan. Because on this check and the cashier's check, which we'll show you, it indicates that it's for Mr. Brown and that it's in reference to Mr. Brown. You can put that one out. So apparently, the cashier's check purchased this check from Ameris Bank to American Homes for Rent in reference to Mr. Brown. Mr. Ron, if that is in fact what happened, had no authority to approve a loan of taxpayer money without the matter being voted on in a public meeting by mayor and council. That vote would either be to deny it or approve it. If it was approved, it would still have to be an additional vote to amend the budget to make it a legal transaction, because $4,666.48 of taxpayer money that is non-budgeted and is pulled from the general fund is not an expenditure that anybody's authorized to make other than mayor and council when they vote to amend the budget. Former Councilman Damon Ron, according to the remaining mayor and council, never informed them about this matter or about this loan. Oh, yeah, no, hold on. It is clear from the way, put the check back up. It's clear from the way that this was done, rather than going through the normal procedure, that there may be an attempt to keep it from the mayor and council so that they were not notified or knew nothing about it, because they knew absolutely nothing about it until it was brought to their attention. And that was after the fact that it had occurred. Put conditions on it. As part of this unauthorized loan, Mr. Lynn provided the following conditions on the loan: that $300 would be deducted from every paycheck until the amount is repaid, that the employee must complete financial literacy course within 90 days, Jonathan Lynn also directed the employee to work for Parks and Recreation outside his normal working hours at Public Works at a rate of $15 an hour as a contractor, independent contractor with the city, meaning that would be a 1099 contractor. However, the employee is a full-time employee with the city who works 40 hours a week at Public Works and is paid $18.04 per hour. The other condition is that should the employee leave prior to completing repayment, the total amount will be due within 90 days. Mr. Lynn's conditions on this loan clearly violated state and federal employment law, as an individual cannot be both a 1099 employee, 1099 contractor, and a W-2 wage employee for the same entity. It's prohibited by law. Additionally, the employee of the city is legally entitled to overtime for any time that they work over their 40 hours at the rec department. The employee would put in 40 hours with his normal job at the Public Works and then go work additional hours under these conditions for the rec department. Also, the employees, and he wasn't being paid overtime, and he was being paid at $15 an hour. And he would be entitled to, under the law, to be paid overtime. Also, the employee's hourly rate of $18.04 cannot be reduced to $15 while working for the same entity. The employee has already performed work under Lynn's conditions and direction before Mr. Lynn was suspended. Hence, the city is going to have to attempt to go back and resolve this issue with that employee and remove him from that situation. He's entitled to be paid additional monies. In addition to that, Mr. Lynn was supplied I tell you what, get the email out from the HR. In addition, Mr. Lynn was supplied, which he purchased with city funds, various electronic devices. One was his iPhone cell phone. And so Mr. Lynn, when he was suspended, apparently reset that iPhone, which destroyed any information or data, government information or data, because everything on that phone that is supplied to him is government owned and should be provided to the government. So the question I have for Mr. Lynn is, why did you reset the phone? And if that's the case, is there a way to obtain that information, to put it back on the phone?
Oh, do you want to answer that now?
Yeah, it is.
Well, all the data is cloud-based. All you gotta do is log in through my iCloud.
Okay, hold on, we're not done. So the information on the phone can be obtained through the iCloud, correct?
Yes, and it would have been through my City of Rankin iCloud account. I will tell you that that one only ever had email on it for the iPad.
All right, well, let me ask my
I know where
questions
you're going with
first.
that.
So this information is on that cloud and the city doesn't have the password or credentials to get to it.
It was just reset it with my city email.
So will you provide the password and credentials for the city to be able to access that information?
I'd be happy to come in one day and help them reset it.
Well, we don't want you coming in, we just want you to send us the email or the password information and the credentials to access that. Because the IT person that was hired by you for the city is indicating that he cannot access the cloud in order to access your information.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be happy to get that.
So, once again, the iPad, you reset the iPad also, correct? And the phone, correct?
That's correct. That's what I would have had any employee do.
Why would you have employees delete information if it's not attainable in the cloud?
It should be. That's
Okay. Yeah, subject to open records.
It's a beautiful.
This is your MacBook that was supplied by the city government. And it's locked, they can't get into it. Would you supply the password in order for them to be able to get into this device?
Absolutely.
Is there a reason that you didn't supply that when you were suspended?
Yeah, because you guys took it within about 20 minutes of it happening, and we had no prior knowledge to do anything with it.
So it's your position that all of the data and the information that was on your government cell phone, your iPad, and your MacBook is still available in the cloud?
Correct.
And none of it was deleted? Okay. In closing, the citizens of the city have voiced their concerns about transparency and protection and for the city to take care of its citizens. After today, it has been made apparent that one of the burdens on this cry for transparency is Mr. Lynn. Mr. Lynn has cost the city thousands of dollars, manipulated the system to his favor, lied or given false information to mayor and city council, circumvented procedures and policies of the city, misappropriated taxpayers' money, and along with approvals by Mr. Ron in regards to that check, unilaterally loaned taxpayers' money to an employee to pay a debt of the employee without proper authority. Mr. Lynn has served one purpose with the city, and that purpose has been to buck the procedures set in place for the checks and balances and to violate the procedures in order to aid his position or desire. The citizens of this city wonder about the money and wonder why funds cannot be placed in areas to benefit the citizens, and help fix and increase the level of services. Mr. Lynn has frivolously wasted funds in order to build his support with employees, while behind the scenes, the people of the city of Rincon are being deprived of the benefit they seek to gain from the hard work they put in and the taxes they pay. Mr. Lynn has somehow delayed government documents from being presented to the mayor and city council or available for open records. He also violated state and federal employment law by having the employee serve both as a W-2 employee and a 1099 contractor. The mismanagement of the human resources aspect of the insurance, both health and life insurance, is clearly a dereliction of his duty to the city of Rincon, its employees, and the citizens, as shown by the information that's been presented. As a result of that, the issues involved in this matter are very serious, even down to the smallest amount of money that is spent, because all of that is coming from a limited revenue source, which is taxpayer money. And Mr. Lynn is not above the system, nor is he above the elected officials of the city of Rincon. And he should be held responsible for his mismanagement and conduct.
You're done, Mr. Dick.
That concludes the presentation.
Mr. Lynn, you,
How do you guys want to handle it? I paid attention to the meeting the other night to where I'll have to call people up to speak individually. If you want me to kind of respond now and then call people, if there's orders, I just want to be respectful of the system.
I mean, I guess it's really, we'd probably like to hear from you
Okay.
and your response, and then from that point, you can call people up.
Sure.
Certainly do that.
I'd like to keep it a little bit briefer than what just happened, but I did have some notes, and I'll try to get through them as quickly and as succinctly as possible, so I appreciate you guys allowing me to do that. First, before I start, I want to just say that I feel like my due process has been violated, because everything that was just mentioned was not presented to me ahead of time to have any sort of research to look into it myself. And, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna say that none of this was brought up or known until after June the 1st. I feel that it's been a fishing expedition created as vague as possible, just to create or fabricate evidence to support a decision, because you didn't like an investigation on a certain employee. I'm just gonna leave it right there. And just kind of go through some things, and now Michelle's back, I'll also make a happy note. Happy birthday, Michelle.
Thank
I know today is your birthday, so happy birthday. You guys hired me on September 19th, 2019, that's absolutely correct. Came in, no planning director, right into the budget with a finance director that had been here a month. We had some bumps in the road, got through everything. You guys have talked to me about some things. I thought I'd improved on them. 7 months into my tenure, I had a 6-month evaluation on April the 11th. Resulted in what I would call a fairly stellar evaluation. Increase in pay, increase in car allowance. The premium pay bonus that employees that got in November was afforded to me, and an extra vacation time. So it was just, I thought things were going good. I know, and just to kind of hit some of the highlights, I know Mr. Dickey talked about council getting briefed about Mike Osborne and a reprimand on April the 24th. What he did not mention was that on April 19th, I had Mr. Dickey come into my office to go through all of these things about Mike Osborne, to go through the issues that I was going to present to you guys. As a matter of fact, I had no bones about it. I originally intended on suspending him for 10 days without pay, which I told you guys about on the 24th. Mr. Dickey said, there's probably some issues with that, let's try to reduce it to 9 days, so he was more comfortable with that based on some workers' comp, some labor laws. I said, that's fine, we'll go through that. On April 20th, the mayor and Mr. Scott were in City Hall, so I pulled them into my office and talked to them about it, to let them know that I was having some issues and I would be talking to you guys about it in closed session on the 24th. And on the 24th, I briefed you guys on it, and you're absolutely right, we were talking, reduced it just to a written reprimand. Which was served on Mr. Osborne on the 25th. I will say that reprimand, there was no suspension associated with it for Mr. Osborne. He was put on an administrative leave so that he could get himself healthy, so that he wouldn't be tempted to do anything that could violate a workers' comp order, that we knew he was struggling, wanted him to get healthy. That was the entire intent of it. So that it was presented to him on the 25th. I will contradict another thing that Mr. Dickey said. He said that on April 24th, the complaints from Mr. Osborne against Ms. Taylor and myself, and then the separate complaint against me were presented. That is factually inaccurate. There's a special call meeting on May the 1st, where those complaints were given to us. And following that, on May the 2nd, after going to Ms. Kim Hessling the next day, she sent an email to Mr. Osborne letting him know everything had gotten fixed, and a screenshot of how things had gotten fixed. for that retirement issue. I'm very surprised he did not share that with you guys, or if he did, I'm a little concerned that you guys may have not just shared that in public. But that was fixed. The city, we took the issue with that. Also, I will say, I think some words have gotten thrown about that are also inaccurate. When we talked about statements that employees were making, I said, I know that they intended to make a statement to HR. I never saw those statements. To date, I will testify, I'll take a lie detector test, you can put me under oath. I have not seen those statements. What was posted from Alex Pitts tonight was the first time I had ever seen it. Mr. Osborne, in his open records request, asked for statements pertaining to his suspension or to his written reprimand. I had not seen them. They cannot pertain to it if I had not seen them. They did not come to me. Those statements were not provided to me. They were provided to Human Resources. Now, I don't doubt that they probably weren't in the file, given how everything turned out. I completely agree that they probably weren't there, but they were put somewhere. There was a separate filing system. Everything was we're trying to get our heads wrapped around that. We know we had the HR issues. Going from there. So then, it got to that point. So with HR, and there was a problem addressed. You're correct. The mayor and I did meet with Melissa in December of 2022. I had a documented conversation with Ms. Hessling in January, once we all got back from the holidays, kind of going through where we needed to go. Several months later, these issues are still going on. She did call the mayor and I to her office. We did sit down. I had to come up with what to do with Ms. Hessling. We talked. She had some personal health issues. We tried to get through it. Things were not getting better. But the fact is, I did not hire Ms. Hessling. John Clem hired Ms. Hessling. If you look at the documentation that Ms. Still provided, those issues happened under John Clem, the previous city manager. I was tasked with fixing them. I wanted to fix them. Unfortunately, we had to move on. It was in the best interest for Ms. Hessling and the city to separate themselves. It's very amicable. It happened in the right way, but unfortunately, we're all paying the price for that. And being the city manager, yes, I had to take responsibility and accountability for it, but I never shied away from it. I never did at all. And even prior to knowing about Mr. Osborne's complaint that was given to us on May the 1st, I let you guys know in the meeting how it was being handled. I sat right here in an open meeting saying the city made a mistake and that we were fixing it. I know the employees, I spoke to them after it. The only one that didn't speak to was Mr. Osborne, because he never came to me. The employees that came to me, I talked to them. They were very happy with how it got fixed. That was it. To date, even before I left, before I was suspended, Mr. Osborne never came to me. So if he told you he did, he's not telling the truth. So then we get to coming up just to kind of get to the point. May 15th, yes, I did let you guys know there was an investigation. At the advice of some law enforcement people, they said, don't let anybody know the name, let's maintain the integrity of the process. So that's absolutely accurate that's how it happened. But that was in response to a citizen complaint. I know people want to blame it on a Parks and Recreation employee. I know people want to blame it on me. It was in response to an employee, and a complaint that came to an employee from a citizen. Plain and simple, that's what initiated it. If you look at the email that was sent for the investigation to the police department, it says to either confirm or deny the allegations. We need to figure it out. It's up to you. Here's what we have. So then come to that May 24th appeal hearing. Once sharing privileged information, you guys found out the name. Come back. On June 1st, which by the way, I did, 3.5 hours of vacation that, I volunteered for to be a part of that hearing from 2,000 miles away, and here we are today. So I will say that from June the 1st until now, I'll say it again, I was not given anything in specifics to prepare a defense for, to prepare a hearing for. I know the code section says that I'm supposed to file a written reply to you guys no later than 5 days before the hearing. Well, the hearing was officially scheduled Monday night, which is 3 days before the hearing, but without any specifics.
Mr. Lynn, you're incorrect. You're talking about a personnel policy.
No,
This is not governed by the personnel policy.
Mr. Dickey, it actually says, it is in the charter, section 2.28, that I have no later than 5 days to file a written reply to mayor and council prior to the hearing.
Okay. Well, you were notified
Hey,
before.
please just let me finish. I gave you an
No,
hour.
let me make this
45
statement.
minutes.
You were notified last week of the hearing, so.
But you guys
had-
could have changed it Monday night. It was not voted on. It was an agenda item Monday night
I
to
hear
set the
what you're
time.
saying, but you were notified,
So,
and it was cited,
yeah.
called by mayor and council.
You know, and just to kind of just throw more out there, I filed an open records, 2 open records requests on Tuesday, June 6th. There was no reply given to me by the city within the 3 days, the 3 required days.
Wrong, there was,
There was not,
there was.
no, there
Yeah.
was not.
Yeah, you don't, we didn't, it's not when you send it, it's when the city receives it. They didn't receive it till the next day, because you sent one of the emails at 7:56 PM, and one of them at 4:46 PM
On
that
a
day.
Tuesday, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
No,
response-
Wednesday is the date of receipt, so Thursday, Friday,
Well, that's fine, that's
and you
fine.
were responded to on Monday.
Okay, well,
You've already filed a complaint with the Attorney General, we've already responded.
yeah, correct, that's
I'll
fine.
give them all of that information, okay?
Okay. So there we go. All right, so now we'll get to just some of the stuff, you know, that we talked about. I've never been provided who at City Hall would tell you guys they didn't know where I was. You can ask anybody, most employees, hey, do you know where Jonathan is? And they could all probably overshare with you where I was. They could probably all overshare with you where I was. I never walked out of the building without telling anybody. I may have said, hey, I'll be right back. I'll be back in 15 minutes. I may have not said, hey, I'm running to the store to get a soda. I may not have said it that way. But they all knew when I was and wasn't gonna be in the office. If I was ever 15 minutes late, I guarantee somebody got a text message. If I was going to lunch, which I tried to pattern myself to go to lunch between 12 and 1 most days if I could, they knew I was at lunch. So whoever would tell you they didn't know where I was, shame on them. Because it is what it is. Now, you guys also brought that up as, hey, Jonathan, do better about letting us know where you are in January. Most all of you, if not all of you, told me in April, you have done a much better job communicating with us. If this was based on the last 3 months, everything would be okay. You guys told me that. So the fact that that gets brought up again is very disturbing. So we addressed it, and I'm just going to try to hit them all. Hit all the highlights, I'll go through and we'll talk about Mr. Brown. I will just say as a personal matter, I think it's, you could have just said an employee. I don't know that you need to say his name to kind of publicly embarrass him on that one. The issue was with me and not him. So I will tell you, if somebody at the bank told you I said I could sign that check, I would like to look at them in the face and call them a liar. When they brought me that to sign it, I said, I cannot sign this. Oh yeah, you can, you're an authorized signer. I said, no, I'm not. So Jeannie said, sign it. So I signed it. They get back to the bank, oh, Jonathan, you're right. They didn't call me, they called Liz to say, Jonathan, you're right. Can somebody come sign it? Damon Ron had just been in the building signing checks. I called him and said, hey, Damon, we might run into the bank to sign this. I'll explain everything. That's how it happened. I didn't force my signature on it. I didn't tell him I could sign something. Granted, yeah, I'll take it on the nose for everything else on that. I help employees, that's what I do. We're not up here talking about, oh, Jonathan, let's open up PTO because we have an employee that's gonna be in the hospital for weeks. Let's make sure we give him PTO. Or Jonathan, hey, I hit a deer. Can I take the city vehicle home for 2 weeks? Or my car's not working. Can I take the vehicle home for 2 weeks? Those are all things we do to help employees. Now, I get where we're coming from on this one. I'll take this one on the nose. And yes, it was under that $5,000 limit. I'll take it on my nose because at the end of the day, I know we were helping employees. We've become a place that people want to come to work. We're recognizing employees. And yeah, a lot of that is due to you guys. So they see that, but at the same time, it was not done maliciously. I didn't try to circumvent the signature process. I didn't try to sign the check. I didn't beg them to sign the check. That was not part of it. So yeah, I talked about the stuff with Melissa. I know that, Melissa had a lot of files relating to John Clem. I'm not sure if she turned those over, but I would like to see, again, due process. I'd love to see what she provided that says I didn't handle something. When I was made aware of issues, I did everything in my level-headed best to make sure they got addressed. Now, granted, they had to keep getting addressed with the same person, and I wanted this person to succeed. I wanted to give her the tools to succeed. And at the end of the day, as much as we tried to do, it was in the best interest of the city to separate that employment. So yeah, and as soon as we were made aware of things not getting paid, We did everything we could to track down where to pay him, to track down how to get a login, you know, and it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible to figure that out, but yes, we fixed it. So I do want to, and I also want to address all the credit card charges for food. I would like to see those statements because I can tell you, I've never been to KOC on a city credit card. I don't know when I ordered Little Caesars on a city credit card. I can tell you 2 times, the El Real charge and the 10 pin charge were both when we had new department heads starting and the mayor was at the lunch with us. So, you know, it is what it is. And every once in a while, you know, to be honest, everybody said I like to eat. 2/3 of those times, I guarantee I didn't have any of the food. It wasn't for me, it was for the employees. And I know that's a fairly common practice because in 2022, Parks and Recreation Director Mike Osborne spent $2,100.66 on meals on his city credit card, ranging from a $700 meal down to a $4 Frappuccino at the Starbucks in Reagan at 8 o'clock at night. So I do have those records, you know, just because we had to start looking at them. So it is what it is. At that point for that, you know, we wanted to help out employees. I know a couple of the times, you know, one night, one of the charges is Dunkin' Donuts for $12.99. I picked up donuts to bring to that April 24th council meeting. Or maybe it was the May 1st, whatever day that was, I picked them up to bring here. Now granted, you guys, 8 o'clock at night, nobody wanted a donut, I was surprised, but we ended up taking them to City Hall the next day. But that's the kind of stuff we're doing. The Dell purchases, you know, the laptops were budgeted. You know, we were trying to order them every day. The reason the charges happened was every day, hey, we need to make sure, oh, now we got to get them for this department, or now we need to get them here. If you look at some of the newsletters, they're in the newsletter saying we bought the laptops. I know, Mr. Kirkland, I apologize if I'm wrong. I think you and Mr. Ron both saw them. We bragged about, hey, we have all these laptops. We're going to deploy them to the employees. You know, we're getting there. We're just waiting to get all of our IT stuff updated. So people, I mean, it wasn't a secret that we bought them. So it was really and truly not intended to circumvent. It wasn't intended to have a bunch of purchases. It's every time we ordered something, oh, well, we need to get one for golf. The golf, you know, at the time, Paul didn't have a laptop, or, you know, we need to get them for Parks and Recreation. I don't know if Tim is still here. Tim balked. He's like, I don't want a laptop. We said, well, Tim, you're gonna get a laptop, and now he loves it because he can operate his fingers with it. But it was all to move forward and go that route. It was not meant to do any sort of circumvention of the code. And the infill machine, yeah, it did exceed $5,000. I would consider that, you know, they did not have time to get it to you guys. That's, you saw the date on it is May 12th. We waited on it to come in. We couldn't find the other infill machine. It took a few weeks to figure out where Mike had dropped off the other infill machine. We ended up having to track it down at a Diesel Power, or Alex or somebody at Parks and Rec tracked it down at Diesel Power Solutions. I called, they said, hey, we're still 3 months out from getting any sort of a part to get it fixed, so we had to do something. So that's why I said, hey, let's just go ahead and we'll call it, you know, that word emergency, because we've got to have an infill machine, we've got to be able to operate, we've got to be able to have the fields ready for all the tournaments. So that's where we were at that point. The Keurig purchases, that's just it. That, you know, we weren't always buying coffee. Those were just the auto shipments that came for City Hall to have them there to do that. So the car washes, I don't know why there were 2 showing up there. I will tell you, one of them was mine because we got inmate lessons 101. Inmates cannot wash personal cars. We had a terrible inmate, as most of you guys know, at City Hall. He would cut grass and just absolutely dirty up people's cars. So any employee that got their cars dirty around that time, I said, hey, the city will get your car washed. That's it. You know, we can't have them wash it, but we will take care of it. That's on us. Where it was, you know, grass clippings, or, you know, at the time pollen was getting all over cars. So that's what we did with that. It wasn't, oh, I just want to go get my car washed. There was a reason for doing that. And, you know, you can verify that with the sheriff's office. So, you know, the complaints about Mike, yeah, heard about both of them on May the 1st. I think they had been sent a few weeks prior. I did not see them until that special call meeting on May the 1st. So just again, Mike was not suspended. Mike was put on paid administrative leave to get himself healthy. As he goes from being on X order to not do anything, to being on X order to not lift anything more than 5 pounds, said, hey, Mike, let's just not do that. He had even mentioned, and I mentioned it to him on that April 24th meeting, he had mentioned to the HR person at the time that he'd overdid it at the fair. He knew as soon as he had done it, he shouldn't have done what he did. I don't know if it was reaching up to grab something or something, and so we just, hey, let's just, you know, it wasn't meant to be anything ill or anything like that. So I just, you know, it is that, so I'm just gonna leave that one right there. So, and I will say, I mean, again, about the rec statements. The only one I've seen is the one you just put up there from Alex today. You know, we were sitting here that night, and I said, hey, I think Damon Ron, if I'm putting words in your mouth, Damon, I apologize, I know you're here, said, hey, should we get statements from the employees, or the employees gonna file statements? And I said, to my knowledge, they're going to file statements if they haven't already. And I think there was some conversation between Damon, you guys, and Raymond about what constituted a whistleblower complaint. And Raymond looked at me and said, well, it's good, we can get them locked into a statement whenever they file one. So that was that whole conversation about that. You know, and I get, you know, somebody working 65 hours in a week. Believe me, I get it. I missed events with my kids. You know, I work late nights. I pull over on the side of the road to text you guys about a fire, a brush fire on a Saturday morning while I'm trying to go get my kids. I get that. It wasn't the issue about working, it was the issue about notifying your supervisor. Simple as it gets. So that, you know, we got it there. I mean, it is. So, so I think that's, I'm gonna go through and just make sure, and I just, you know, I'll just say that I hope you guys deliberate. I hope you guys see the value in continuing with the city of Rankin as city manager to continue to move everything forward. I don't have to give you guys a list of accomplishments that I sent you guys before my evaluation, but it was 3 pages. Things we had gotten done in 6.5 months at the time I sent that, of getting things done. So it's where I want to be. We uprooted our lives to move here. It's closer to my kids. We bought a house. We invested in the community. We lived in the city on purpose. You know, when we were looking for houses, and my wife is here, God rest her soul, I wouldn't be able to do anything without her. She wanted to look everywhere. I said, no, I want to be in Rankin. She said, Fort Wentworth. I said, no, if we can do it, I want to be in Rankin. And I don't regret that. You know, we bought a house here. We want to be here. Yeah, there's bumps in the road. Have I made mistakes? Absolutely. I would challenge each of you to tell me you haven't made a mistake at some point. You know, we all know we've been there. But at the same time, and I believe I have the notes from the evaluation where several people said, Jonathan has the best interest of Rankin at heart. We believe he wants to have the best interest for Rankin. So I ask, how do you go from that to this with nothing but vague responses on June 1st, and then 3 weeks later, me not having a chance to see anything that we were gonna talk about ahead of time? So if you do want to continue down the road for termination, I ask that we delay this for another 10 days. Give me a chance to do more research so that I can bring back. Everything I've given you is extemporaneous. I'm finding all of what you're saying out right now for the first time. So I'm going by memory, and I have a pretty daggone good memory. I don't write a whole lot of stuff down because it's a gift to have. I don't forget a whole lot of stuff, which is also, it's a blessing and a curse. You know, you remember the bad as much as you remember the good. But I ask that you have 45 days, what's another 10 days, just to allow me to get my stuff together to come back. Now, you may make the same decision. It may not change anything, but it does afford me the due process of being able to give you an accurate response. Everything I'm giving you right now is off the cuff, because everything I've heard is for the first time. So I'll leave it there. And again, you know, first time I'm hearing about everything tonight. So again, just ask for that additional 10 days because you still want to move down that course. Now, that being said too, I do believe that we have some people here that would like to address you guys. You just want me to call them up one by one, Mayor, or just tell you who they are? You know, first I'll ask Mr. Kevin actually wanted to see you first.
Man, that sounded like a defense here. So, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I just got a couple of questions. I've been following this since it started. Obviously don't know Mr. Land personally. Met him a couple times, met him at a DOT meeting. But there's something that there's a few questions that I have involving this situation. that I'd like you to consider before a decision's made. Don't really want to answer, don't really want to hear anything, any feedback, just to ask the question. And obviously ask yourself. I want you to think about where you work, hospital, school, retired retail, Gulfstream, military, school system. You know, think about if this termination would be appropriate there, okay? So how can we move to terminate any employee with a 2-month prior excellent review, along with an increase? Even with Georgia being a right-to-work state, employees deserve better. So are there any write-ups, documentation, counseling sessions prior to any of this? Just termination? Just suspension? Does being absent or late deserve immediate termination without a conversation? If it happened at all? Because without any proper documentation, it really never happened. This documentation is after the fact. Every bit of it. So did Mike's investigation prompt the suspension? If not, is it just a coincidence? Will the current city attorney be paid for yet another lawsuit against our city? I heard him mention minorities and women. And it's funny that we throw those words around, but in the end, he provides a service to the city. When's the last time you contracted his job out? You had. Okay? Do we really, as a city, have the money to spend on another lawsuit with taxpayer dollars? Because that's what we're doing. Does the city attorney recommend litigation in this matter? He's recommended before. We've lost. He's gotten paid for it. He wins either way.
I take objection to that. What
That
is
seems
it
like a conflict of interest to me.
Well, if, you should know about a conflict of interest.
You're right.
Because you're the one that had the conflict of interest.
You've been living in one.
Hey guys, this is about me.
You're the one with
You've
the
been
conflict
living
of
in
interest.
one.
Hey, let's
I'm
keep it,
sorry.
let's
No,
keep it to
that's
discussion.
okay. No, you're right. You're right.
We listened an hour and a half for him and nobody said a word.
No.
2 hours.
And it would be appropriate if he did the same thing.
So, I want to add this. Mike indicated that he was not verbally spoke with. Raymond indicated that Mike felt like he was not verbally talked to. He was not addressed about his problems. That's what you said.
Yeah.
Neither was Mr. Lynn. 2 months prior to this, he was praised. Standing in here, he was praised. Okay? So, this is my point, guys. 8 city managers in 17 years with interims in between. That's where our city is. Less than 2 years on an average for a city manager in this city. When does this become a problem that's not associated with a city manager? When do we look at the man in the mirror? Or the woman in the mirror? For you guys that have been here for 15 years or more, you've seen every one of them. Hadn't agreed on all of them, but you've seen every one of them. Did we make bad hires? Did we vet people properly? Is there something else? To me, it's gotta be something else. So, that was what I wanted to add. You know, April 11th is a date that he had a review. Every bit of this information that was turned in is the same thing that this city has done for a while. Even when I got here, we talk about all that we know from the past, but yet we're just bringing all this up to this guy because nobody really knew what was happening in the city until after you suspended him. Well, why didn't we say anything to him, if that's not true? That's all I got. Thanks.
The next one, is Terry Lewis.
So for me, I'm here to talk about the atmosphere. So I've been at the city for 5 months now, and for me, like, I just wanted to talk about the atmosphere at City Hall, and just the city of Lincoln in general, because it's been very positive. I really like working for the city. And when I first started, not just, my team especially in planning and development, but others as well for the city, said how much morale had improved with Jonathan starting to work for the city and some of the things that he had done. And I observed that as well. It was a pleasant place to work, or it is a pleasant place to work. Everybody is nice, everybody's thoughtful. I feel like there's really an air of camaraderie. And my understanding and my experience is a lot of that is what Jonathan brought to the table, keeping us involved, I think keeping y'all involved through the newsletter, asking us for items to share with y'all. You know, one of the things that he told me when I started was that the mayor and city council, you know, are involved, like to be kept up to date on what's going on. So I try to think about that as well in the things that I do. He gave me flexibility to, you know, kind of make some changes in my department, which is really nice to not be micromanaged. I've experienced that in the past. And he even said, you know, I have a planning background, so I'm gonna step back and let you run your department so that I'm not, you know, just kind of breathing down your neck and telling you what to do. And I appreciated that. So I've been able, I think, to do some positive things for council staff reports, providing just some more information about what's going forward, providing more in-depth, a more in-depth look at applications that are coming forward. And then I have a whole list of other things that I think will really benefit the city, and I like having that, that flexibility and that freedom to be able to do that.
Next, Ms. Laura Eichman.
Mr. Dickey just spent an hour and a half telling us how horrible the HR person was and how much trouble she was in, how much money she cost the city, how egregious it was for the city manager to not have her under control. Can I just ask who you're currently contracting to do payroll and how that's going? And if all the police officers are properly paid at this moment? Or rest my case.
Next, Ms. Mona Underwood.
I've spent a lot of time the last couple of weeks, first getting past just anger because of other things going on in our city that I felt like all of you were negligent in for years. And then, you know, this coming up, I really had to fight anger. And I told Damon today, I said, you know, Damon, I work with kids at our church. A lot of you do too. And I don't ever want to hurt my witness as a Christian, and I know y'all think that way too. And I even gave Michelle this week, I said, you know, you conquer evil with good, and truth always wins out, and truth's always enough. And this morning, my Bible studies, my quiet time, because boy, I needed it today, because I just want to stay calm. I don't want to be mad at y'all. Y'all are all good people. That said, the path to righteousness is level. And that's the foundational point I'm going to make throughout what I've got to share with y'all. The path to righteousness is always level. The next point I want to be pointing out to you while I talk tonight is tradecraft. Our city has lacked tradecraft with city management. Methods, processes, tools, skills, we've lacked that. Continuity. consistent operation throughout our city. We lack that. And, Lou's not here, and it's nothing against Lou, because it just got dropped through the cracks, but we have sirens not going off when tornadoes are in the area, because something fell through the cracks, because there's not continuity. And continuity can't happen when we're constantly changing managers. And all I can speak to is what I know. But the first thing I want to do, and Mr. Dickey, you're a nice man. I don't want to be angry with you either, but I want to just say what I gotta say, and then I'll sit down, and we should all be respectful. And I want to address this right now to you three, because you're the newbies. Ben, Michelle, and Patrick, I'm talking to you guys right now. Because the other night at that meeting, quickly you threw up the charter, said this is how this was supposed to be, we did it legal, and it went away. There was no response to it. But I'm talking just to you three. That said, because Michelle asked at the previous meeting why she didn't get 48 hours notice. That was a fair question, because it's in the charter. And it says such notice of the mayor and council members shall not be required if 4 of all members are present. So there's a reason she doesn't, it's not required, she got the 48 hours. If 4 of all members of the council are present when the special meeting is called. So if 4 members are present at a meeting, there should have been a quorum. That's a quorum, which is qualified a meeting. So what meeting were you two at where this special called meeting was called?
What was that meeting?
So how did you vote on this special called meeting?
There was no vote.
Vote, but where did you vote?
There was no vote for the meeting.
So you had to have approved, there was a 4-member council had to vote on that meeting. Did someone call you and say, do you approve this special called meeting?
Yeah,
And who was that?
it was the mayor.
So you weren't in a room together, it was a phone call?
That is correct.
Okay.
Ms. Underwood, you're here to speak.
I know,
in support of
but I just wanna put that out there. Okay, but I just wanna put that out there, because I'm making a point. I'm making a point. I'm making a point. Okay? So, anyway, but what I'm saying is why wasn't everybody called? Why wasn't Michelle asked or Damon asked? And again, I say the path of righteousness is level. You don't have to do acrobatics if we're going in the right direction. But then, now I wanna go, and just making that point, I wanna go into this. I'm sorry, WTOC or whoever. Okay. You know, just some of the employees wanted to make statements just on Jonathan's behalf. And, we're gonna read those, someone ought to have a copy of them. They're checking to make sure their reviews are good. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The first one, and I'm gonna tell you, your employees, our city employees are scared of retribution. And I hope that's not the case, but some of them want their names removed. And some of them you might even figure out who they are. But this one says, during the time of my city of Rankin, I have the pleasure of building many great relationships, and I've enjoyed the camaraderie that the city offers and how well most people get along. The sense of cohesiveness has continued to grow under the direction of current city manager, Jonathan Lynn. And this one goes on. It's rare that a city manager can address a frontline employee by his first and last name. Do you know what a treasure that one is? That Jonathan knows a frontline employee by first and last name. Maya Angelou says that to know someone's name is to give them dignity. And he appreciates the honesty and transparency. He goes on, I hope that he can continue to lead the city in the right direction. I would work in any department in the city government with him. The next one, during my 2.5 years with the city of Rankin, 3 different city managers have served in this position. Of the 3, I can say without a doubt that the most helpful and most accessible has been Jonathan Lynn. He's accessible. These are trade crafts these people are talking about. It's just not attributes, they're trade crafts, guys. It's what city managers bring to the table. I can truly say Jonathan's been here for my coworkers and I as we've navigated an extremely difficult and stressful few months, but he brings down the temperature when things are confused or heated up is another trade craft. In my experience, it's rare that anyone in leadership position truly makes an effort to get to know their employees. And she goes on, a key point, it's more important than ever that our city be able to cohesively work together. Pulling all these departments together is a gift. It's a gift, it's a trade craft. The times they've had concerns or need assistance day or night, he's answered the phone. He's always listened with open ears. And I'm not gonna bore y'all with all these, because y'all find it, but I'm gonna, he's involved and engaged, tradecraft. People enjoy coming to work, another tradecraft. Listen, if your employees aren't liking coming to work, you're not getting much out of them. Since Jonathan began working for the city, he has been very involved and engaged with all the employees, residents, and clients. And I know that, because he's out in the city. Jonathan's a great leader. He shows by example, with integrity, and positivity that he displays on a day-to-day basis. He's dedicated to his work. He never leaves a job unfinished. No matter how big or how small the problem or concern is, he's always been willing to help find a resolution. From day one, Jonathan's had an open door. Our last city manager was not approachable, never had time to talk to anyone. This was Lolly Watley. I mean, and I asked people when they did these letters, I said, don't get into politics, just give your relationship with Jonathan. Some got a little bit more. This one is, I am providing this letter in hopes of opening some eyes. For far too long, the city of Rankin has struggled with stability and leadership positions. The cause for this is only one of two possibilities. One, poor hiring practices, or two, a lack of being able to tolerate, understand nonconformity and differing opinions or viewpoints. Poor hiring practices result every time in short tenure and lack of confidence from subordinates, especially when the position being considered is a leadership role. Regardless what the reason is, the city of Rankin has cycled through far too many city managers over the past 10 or 15 years. I know the eight within the time frame that I have been might be short one or two. 8 of the city managers in 15 years equates an average tenure of 1.875 years. Is this a tenure the city leaders are proud of? Who's responsible? Well, being in the position of city manager is appointed by council, and the only thing consistent about the job is the fate of the individual holding the position, which teeters on feelings and keeping the right ones happy. I'd start with looking at ourselves, and they say yourselves. I can say with absolute confidence that Jonathan's been the best city manager that I've had the pleasure of working for. He is open to conversations even when he disagrees, and that is a gift that Jonathan has, because I have had disagreements with Jonathan. There's some of you, if I had disagreements like that with you, you wouldn't like me for months. But Jonathan and I walk out the door and we're fine. And I'm gonna give an example. I was so mad when I left for Denver on the 17th, I could have spit nails. And then I had to sit in Denver for 5 days. And when I got home, I went straight to his office, mad as hornet. He said, well, I'm not happy either. And then I got madder. What do you mean you're not happy? And I'm not happy. And he said, well, these are the reasons I'm not happy. And I said, well, this is why I'm not happy. And he looked at me just as calm as he could. He goes, that's fair. And you know what we did? We sit down and we talked about what he didn't like and what I didn't like. And we walked out the door, we were adults and we were fine. That's leadership, okay? This person goes on to say that the mindset should not be mistaken for free for all or a playground mentality, rather a positive workplace atmosphere where employees feel valued and needed. The I work for them approach fosters better communication and a higher level of confidence. And this person did say, lastly, I generally would have had no issue signing this letter front or back. However, due to the fear of retribution from city government, I've chosen to leave this anonymous. And that's sad. I hope people will find it in their hearts to come to y'all, because I don't think any of you are mean, bad people, and talk to y'all openly, because I think when open communication happens, this will get better. This one says the city is growing at a fast pace And it will take personnel such as Mr. Lynn to move it forward, thinking ahead of the curve, and so it's not a create situation that'll be detriment and slow the progress. And we've run so late, I hate to read every one of them. But the main point is our city's, its health and stability far outweigh a lot of these issues. And I really think that the idea that we are a right to work state. And I'm really, because I'm gonna be honest, I've seen some letters some previous employees have sent in on someone else, and they were never even investigated. So now I'm kind of confused as why we investigate some letters and some not. And they were much more serious. But I really think this would have been better served if everyone would have gotten a room and said, these are my issues. And you know, you're all grown men and women. There's nothing wrong with saying, I personally don't think you're getting it done, and I really think we need to make a change. And y'all would have, as a group, decided that and told Jonathan just to go ahead and start job hunting instead of put our city through this. This was an exercise in drama, I feel like, and was not necessary. And what I do know is that I've been in that office, I've been in there. There's been times I've been in there and asked Dulcia myself, where's Jonathan? And she'll say, I don't know. And there was times I said, Dulcia didn't know where, because I don't know where she said that, I was going to lunch. I mean, but they're busy. And I want to make this point. When Jonathan came in here, and I want y'all to hear this, when Jonathan came in here, you hired a city manager. He took on city manager, he took on planner, HR, and I think also the golf course. And obviously an HR person who was struggling that he didn't even hire. Is Kim suing us?
No.
Did that well, didn't he? Thank you, Jonathan. So, I mean, there's trade craft in what good city managers bring, and you're not gonna always get along. And I just pray to God that y'all will go back and look at this. And I'm gonna be honest, go through it item for item with him, because I really don't think this was fair, because I kept saying, do we have any idea what they're even bringing? Nobody knows. And then we get in here 2 hours of stuff point by point. He bought y'all donuts and that was on the list? And all these people going, what you mean he's spending our money at Dunkin' Donuts? That was legal acrobatics, and there's no need for that here. No need. And this attitude of let them sue us, my research in the city of Lincoln the last few months, there's only been 2 people getting rich here. One of them isn't here tonight, and the other one's our city attorney. No,
Mayor,
that's my opinion.
Yeah, that's not mine.
Mayor.
First of all, GERMA provides the coverage. I don't get a dime from that. That's insurance lawyers who defend those cases.
Well, good, then that clears that. So anyway, that's my point, but I really wish y'all would go back into a room and settle this in a better way, because I don't think any of it was necessary. Thank you.
Next on the list, Mr. Damon Ryan.
And to the defense of myself too, I think, sometimes speaking out. Hey, guys. Just to be, yeah, go ahead and jump right on that one. Yeah, I was signing checks that day at the, at council, City Hall. And, there was a check receipt in the list of checks that you signed, and I inquired about it. I asked about it, and I was told it was for a employee assistance. Was called back at 12 o'clock, I believe, yeah, 12. To come back up, sign a check, explain later, okay, that'll be good. Who's the new guy? I haven't seen him. Rudy.
An intern.
I'm sorry?
Intern.
Intern? Yeah, yes. Guys, you know, a lot of these things that I listened to tonight, and I talked about this, you know, in our session, we were talking about getting rid of it, is this a failure on us, you know, to keep having these same issues over and over and over again, a cycle of managers and people, chief of police. You know, we've had a bunch of things go on, and eventually we need to look at ourselves and go, what are we doing? You know, are we not vetting people properly? Or are we not, you know, I talk about this a ton, putting our expectations out here, what we expect. You know, if I tell you what I want, and you don't do it, you can't read my mind, I can't get mad at you. You know, we spoke a lot, about insurance, payments, you know, HR, man, you put Kim to bed. I was just dogging her out, but, you know, we just brought her in this last payroll period to do payroll. Why would you guys bring in somebody that's such a failure to do payroll again? And not only that, screw up two of our officers' checks who just got paid today. Anyone? I didn't think so. Also, you can be a W-2 and 1099 employee in the same place. You just can't do the same job function. I'll throw that out there.
Yes, that's true.
You know, you spoke a lot about Mike, and I thought it was very unfortunate tonight that we were naming names, even though naming names is already out there. But what we failed to mention in that hearing, you know, that I brought up as well, and I asked specifically, it's in the team's recording, was Mike was on full leave, 7th, 8th, and 9th, and admitted to working at the fair during that time as well. Which, while he was on full disability, which puts the city at liability for that, puts himself at personal liability for not being able to collect unemployment. And I asked about it specifically, we were gonna do anything about it, just glossed over, you know, no big deal, we're not gonna do anything. I left this seat because I walked into, excuse me, I didn't walk in, it was a team's meeting, I was having to work, so I called me. With 5 people knowing what was going on and 2 who had no clue, I really honestly thought we were gonna talk about how we were gonna handle this situation with Mr. Osborne. And was surprised to hear that we were talking about Jonathan, and disappointed too at the same time. Because, you know, I said it, why are we even playing around? You know, if anybody recorded that meeting, you hear me say, why are we even playing? This decision's already made, let's get it done, let's vote. You know, I got other things to do. Because it was already decided before we stepped in, just about as much as this is probably a waste of time as well. Because the paperwork was drawn up already, resolution was written, and everybody knew about it but me and Ms. Taylor. You know, I was always an independent thinker, I'm still an independent thinker, and I hope every person on here will continue to be independent thinkers. The public, you know, is paying attention now, they really are. And this is not gonna hold up, guys. A lot of the things that were presented, you know, these last minute purchases and things like that, is that a failure on the city manager, is that a failure on the council? And planning, and proper planning. You know, we put people in positions to have to do last minute things. We put a lot of Band-Aids on stuff that needs stitches. We don't even have a capital plan, a replacement plan for any of our departments. And every person that's in this room that works for an organization knows you have a capital plan. I really hope this gets addressed. I really hope that, you know, you guys really consider, these are real people, real lives. Think about it. If anybody's watched Clash of the Titans before, you've got all the gods sitting up there and all these little clay figures down there. And we're the gods and they're the clay figures. And everything we do affects them, they're real. Every decision we make is real. These people picked their world up, came here in confidence that they were gonna do something. And maintain. And we brought them in that confidence. And we never, and I say we, I say collectively because I was part of the group. We never put trust in him to do his job. Never believed him. It was always a doubt. It was always, you know, you gotta earn my respect instead of just giving it to you up front. And I believe people, professionals, I'm gonna let them do it. I'm a very hands-off manager myself. But I hope we make better decisions as a city going forward. I hope that we continue to work with our employees. We did great when their, salaries increased, give them PTO. I mean, this is thing that's put off for a long time. And this young man comes in and in 7 months knocks out technology. God, I could pull a list of that, this darn long of accomplishments of things that are done in 7 months. Nobody's ever done that before. Nobody's ever taken the initiative to do it. These are things that you don't have to ask, it's just done. And when we say communication, I don't get a newsletter from this guy. Every time a flea farted, I was getting something in the neighborhood from him to a group text. I don't understand communication. It may not have been, hey, I walked in City Hall, and he was there. I didn't walk in, I never walked in and said, Jonathan's not here, he must be screwing off somewhere. I figured, I'm professional. You guys are professionals. If you're not there, I assume you're doing your job until I see that you're not doing your job. And, all this stuff is brought up, and Kevin made an excellent point. Jonathan too, that after this was done, all the research was done afterwards. This wasn't done prior to bringing that up. This was done in his fishing expedition afterwards. And to say, and I brought it up in our meeting, that the timing is horrible. Remember me saying that? The timing is horrible. Because it's gonna look bad. It's gonna look like retaliation, but it's not. But here we are. Raymond mentioned, where nobody's above the law. Nobody's above the rules. Nobody's above, policies and what we do. And I agree with that. I think that we need to follow our policies too, and not pick and choose what we do, and how we do them. I think that Raymond, your contract states you need to pay, you're supposed to send monthly statements, and you're 7, 8 months behind now. I wish I was balling like that, sir, but, let's get together. Let's treat everybody fair. I know you're all friends. I know I was never in the clique. I wasn't gonna be in the clique. I never got in here to be in the clique. I got in here to do something. And when I found out I was unable to do anything, because I wasn't falling in line, I asked all the questions. I questioned why. I wanna know why. I've got to know why before I put my name on something. We serve to help others. We serve, supposed to be selflessly. How many constituents have you talked to about this, situation? We got their opinion, because we're just supposed to be spokesmen for the people that are out here that voted us in, because we're all at large. So, how much opinion is there? How much opinion have you gotten from us? How has it been taken into consideration? I do agree that, with the litany of things that were laid out, this process is very, very unfair. How do you expect somebody to defend themselves with all the things that, have been put up here, and to give an explanation on, or even, get a statement from somebody else or anything? How's that supposed to happen? I mean, it's indefensible. And I really hope you guys consider extending this out a little bit more, and make it fair, do the right thing. If you got facts will back you up. Why not extend it out a little bit? What's it gonna hurt? Anyway, I wish you guys the best. I hope to see some change in things that go on. I hope to see some things, and you guys leave a legacy that you can be proud of. Paving roads is what we're supposed to do. Providing water and stuff, all that, we do that as a service. It doesn't make us special. What have we done above and beyond that? We just got a playground in the tourist center. That's great. What else do we have to show, amenity-wise, that we're doing? Are we giving back to our community?
I'm getting there.
I know you try. I know you're the hardest worker, Michelle, and I think council agrees with that. You are the hardest worker in this group.
Thank
And
you.
everybody appreciates that. And the people appreciate that. And Patrick, you got your sidewalks, by God, one day these engineers will get it straightened out, you're gonna get them. may I ask one thing I know I brought up when I first started? I asked for a list for us to look at when we were on the council, because so many things, and there's stuff that is still on there from when I was on the IDA, that was 5 years ago, are still on the agenda now, or need to be put on the
25 right now.
25. All right, everybody knows me in here. If you don't, you'll get to know me. I've been in business 28 years. I'm a 56-year-old man. Do the math. Levi, you know when I started, I done a hood for you, right? 28 years ago.
Good job.
All right, I don't just hire a man or woman, I hire their family. They depend upon me for life necessities, okay? What I understood tonight, and correct me if I'm wrong, we have collectively just about had a bullet put to us. Chief, what would have happened, well, I understand, our human resources, our HR people are struggling. Our administration is struggling to do the fundamental things that our employees ask of us. Now, Levi, you've been an employer many years, right? If you know that your workman's comp is gonna be canceled, you go to the bank and borrow it, and do anything you gotta do, you must do that, right? Because you take an oath to your people, right? To make sure they're all right. Well, I don't have life insurance and all that kind of, 401s and all that with my people. But I'm working at it, and I got 12 more years to go before I retire. But I know this, if we let our police officers and our firemen and our water employees jeopardize not going home because they died in the line of their duty. There was, from what I understand, you dropped the ball, sir. HR dropped the ball. Each one of y'all dropped the ball. I dropped the ball because I need to get more involved. If we let that insurance lapse, and God forbid, Chief, your wife would have to come up here without you, and there will be adequate life insurance for you and your family. We have done a travesty as people. Because the city of Rankin employs a lot of people. When y'all found out before you took over, sir, I heard it tonight, this thing was coming off the rail, this life insurance and this health care and whatever it was, the HR lady was struggling. Man, we all struggle. But I know one thing I would have to do as an employer, I would stop what I'm doing to make sure my people, I don't have life insurance for my people, I need it. But I know what they do have. If they get hurt, I want to make sure that their family is taken care of, and I will stop whatever I must do to make sure my people are adequately insured. I think there's the most travesty of things that we did. Can you imagine, sir, it didn't happen just on your watch, it happened before you ever started. Man, people, can you imagine, Jonathan, one of your people died in a line of fire, and there's no money to take care of your children for the rest of their life? Listen, I want to talk about life insurance. My father died, I was 14 and a half years old. My dad didn't have life insurance. Levi knows this story. Patrick might have heard it from his brother, I don't know. But we lost everything. I was a little boy that got reduced lunch until my father died at 14 and a half, and I went on a free lunch. And it was humiliating. You remember back in we went to school together. In the cafeteria, your name was sit on a piece of, you were stood on a piece of, on a wall. You were humiliated if you couldn't pay for your lunch, you got free lunch, your name was on this piece of paper. But you got rid of your pride because by 1:30 you probably thought your teacher like a banana. So you made sure that you eat your pride. But I was a recipient of no life insurance. Okay, my dad was 69 years of age. That means he was 55 when I was born. served in World War II in the South Pacific. I went on, my mother and I, about a knot in the road. My school teacher, I turned 15, he drives me to my job, Cornell Mall. Anybody know Cornell? I made $2 an hour. You know what I did? I took myself off that piece of paper and I paid my lunch. I understood the value of hard work. I subsequently went on, but my mother never took welfare. Our church, I went to Church of God took care of us. But it made me the man I am today. But I know one thing, it was a struggle. And for a city resident, for me to find out that we have jeopardized the livelihood of our police officers, our firemen, our public works, and we're gonna stand here and we're gonna worry about what is half truth or half facts. Y'all can figure all that out. But ladies and gentlemen, tonight, I'm coming to the city each and every week until I figure out what we doing with our human resources. Let's help these people. My company is Metal Clad Industries, a 28-year-old company. I started with nothing. Levi, you remember I had to borrow money just to get home. One time I didn't get paid. But in America, a man and woman can go anywhere they want to. But we also, in getting to where we need to get to, we need to have compassion, understanding. The opposite of courage is not cowardness. It's conformity. We don't need to conform like other bureaucratic city townships. We need to find what makes us different. And we need to bind together for the common good. If y'all see this man another chance, that's so be it. That ain't for me to administrate. Well, I know this. There's fault on both sides. But to let a family go without life insurance, I tell you, I would have stopped whatever I'm gonna do to make sure my people have workers' comp, okay? Because I'm responsible for them. Can you imagine one of my people's eyes getting popped out? And their little boy or girl has to be a peasant and live in peasantry and have to have free lunch because their mother don't make enough money? Because my inadequacy, my incompetence, my responsibility was I didn't make sure insurance was available for my people. I think that's the one thing I would have did. Wouldn't have mattered what else wasn't paid, was paid, whatever. I wouldn't have let, how many months you been on this employee? 9 months. I was told that this thing started with the other guy. Jonathan, we need to give you an apology. Do you know you missed the boat? How about if one of your men or women would have been killed? God forbid. Let's get it together. I run a business. You want somebody that can help you run a business? This is a business. If I come in here, I hear another person's not insured, at the thousands upon hundreds of thousands of dollars we got in our general ledger, and we're gonna put it to a person making $20 an hour, I'm using the word $20 an hour, and we're gonna say, you know what, we're gonna put it all on the back of that $20 an hour person. Maybe that HR person needs more help. Maybe the city of Lincoln, exploding as much as Effingham County is, maybe we need to adjust our operations, just like I have to adjust my operations in my company. I have to make sure I got payroll. I have to make sure I got gas for my people. I have to make sure they get their 941 taxes paid. And all the other things that has to be paid, that's my responsibility. And if I can't get it done, and if I'm not smart enough to get it done, I'll tell you what I am. I'm smart enough to find the person who can. So all this back, I don't know what else going on. You need to find common ground. I'm telling you, each week you're gonna see me. Hey, I like every one of y'all. But you know what? We failed each other. I failed. I failed for not being part. So I beseech each and every one of you. Let's don't let down our city. This is a fine city. We buried a few months ago a man that was our mayor, Mr. George Surratt. What a firecracker. Good God. Who knows George Surratt? Raise your hand. Well, you know what?
I love you too, but it's
Right,
late.
wrong, going different, huh?
I love you too, but it's late.
I know. Well, it's gonna be even more later if we have to continue to have these meetings. We are capable of doing better. And I commend every one of y'all. I commend every one of the employees. Ma'am, you're the clerk, right? You signed my business license, I believe.
Sir, it's planning department,
Ma'am?
the planning department, not me.
Well, thank you for my business license. The city of Rankin has let a little boy from nothing live the American dream. The sound of my voice, I wish there was a little small child in here today. Because it ain't about none of us. We got more years behind us than in front of us. We need to prepare our young people. They are our future. You see, George Surratt told me one thing. He said, Andy, you don't worry about your business license. I believe in you. Levi, you remember that? I couldn't rub two nickels together. I opened my refrigerator up, only I could read the serial number on the back. You want to talk about poverty? I was in poverty from the time I can remember. But I'm not in poverty today because of this great city. Each and every one of y'all are held in a high position. And I commend your service. I commend you being away from your family. Raymond? Everybody wants to nag about what you're getting paid. You know what? You should be compensated, and compensated well. You got a hell of a situation here. So I'm gonna leave on that, all right? I want y'all to call me. God bless you. Let's get it done.
Sorry, Ms. Mona has one other thing. she wants to bring up.
I'm gonna close it up. I just wanted to mention, just to the point of some of that issue, that I was here the night of the April 29th, around the 29th, when the letter from Mike was read about Michelle. And I was also present because I remember clearly Jonathan telling y'all that he had handled the situation, how he handled the situation, and none of you asked him a question at all. And y'all said, okay, good, it's handled. So I do know he did tell y'all that night, and then I asked him when that came up again, did he handle it? He said he made sure the very next day she contacted Mike, so that was my experience with that. And then Andy left. Oh, I was just gonna tell him, I think y'all done the insurance now, what, 3 times an annual salary, so y'all done good by your employees with that, so I was gonna give y'all a plug, so that's it.
Yeah, let's do this. Ms. Meredith Page.
All right. Well, I don't tend to speak up or speak out very much because I always believe that truth will prevail and this right thing will always happen. I'm just one of those good-hearted, good-natured people. And the common theme that I heard when you read letters was how much Jonathan accomplished. I don't know how much you look into your employees and the things that they accomplish here in engagement, but one thing that I know, because that is my job, is that when we bring in employees in, we actually do strength finders. I actually had Jonathan do strength finders. We've walked through it. We've done a lot of career development stuff because I love it. And I will tell you this, the reason he executes everything is 4 out of 5 of his top strengths fall in the category of execution. The reason he can have a disagreement and walk away from that conversation in a good place is because that other one falls within relationship building. I would encourage you, whether it's whoever it is, I encourage all of you to do Strength Finders because it will not only help you work together better, but it helps you grow as a city. I actually think going together as a team, building that family, as y'all mentioned, is a great thing. But I'm more than that. I'll get off my high horse because I just want to speak to who Jonathan is. I married him, and I will tell you this, he is an amazing man. I married him because he is a good man. He is honest, kind-hearted, he does the right thing, and he doesn't back down. And not in a bad way, but for me, it's very good because I can definitely get set in my ways. And the way that he can come and approach a conversation and for us to come into unison says so much about how he seeks to be at peace with other people. So I hope that your experience with him, it sounds like many of you had that same experience with him, and I am so glad that you see the greatness of the man I married. Sorry, I love him. But we did uproot everything. We bought a house here. I never thought I'd live in Rincon, and here we are. We went all in. We invested our lives here. And I just ask that you would let him continue with this great vision. I remember him coming in and being like, Rincon, and telling me all about it, us coming here and exploring it. And I started to fall in love with Rincon too. And it is a great city with great, great, great potential. And I really, really hope that we are here to work with all of you to actually see it through, because great things can really happen, but it will take teamwork and it will take working together to overcome any obstacles.
Last, and then if it's okay, I'll follow up, Ms. Liz Cartwright.
Council, I didn't really plan on getting up here tonight. I just kind of wanted to, let this kind of take place, but I feel like my integrity won't let me not say what I need to say. I'm an honest person. I've always said that from the very beginning. I'm very passionate about Rincon. My main interest has always been the best interest of Rincon financially, keeping us stable. There's a couple of things that I just wanted to confirm Jeannie's statement. She did call me and tell me that Jonathan was right about the signature thing. He was the one that told her he didn't believe he was a signer on the account. The other thing is everyone knows that I work a ton of hours around the office with budget, finance, managing the clerks up front, and audits, having to do audit reports. A lot of those charges, I was kind of confused because I want to say a lot of those charges were mine. And I don't understand why, I don't know, maybe you felt that Jonathan was the one who was charging them, but when I'm working with an employee that's sick at home, a lot of the girls up front, they work through lunch at my request. And when they do that, I buy them lunch because they don't have to do that to help me get through what I'm getting through: budget, finance, reconciliations, water audits, financial audits. And that's not Jonathan. Jonathan's support, he was supporting me by doing that. He could have said, no, don't buy them lunch. But I want to show them that I appreciate them when they say, yes, Miss Liz, I'll work for lunch. And we might not agree with some of the things, that Jonathan, his demeanor may not match our demeanor. I'm prior military, so I'm right here. And I believe in certain things because when you're in the military, it's important to inform your sergeants, your leadership, but not everybody has that. But I feel like at the end of the day, I've worked in a position where the person did everything they were supposed to do, but they didn't do the job. They didn't do the job. And I'd much rather work with someone who I don't like that gets the job done. And I think at the end of the day, that's Jonathan. He does get the job done. Do we always agree? No. But I'm hard-headed and I do what I want. As far as I want to get my job done, I want to make sure that our financial health is stable. That's my job. That's my sole purpose at the City of Rincon. And so, yes, I do buy lunch for the girls up front because they help me a lot. With, again, with Fran being out a lot with her illnesses, we've made some big shifts. And the girls up front, they've helped me so much. They pulled in for me, and I want to support them. I'll buy them lunch. I know a lot of those were I was kind of shocked that, that was, that came up. I mean, I would have liked to have been talked to about that, and it bothered me a little bit. Thank you. That's all I want to say, but again, everyone knows how passionate I am about Rincon. I've lived here for 15 years. I've worked in Savannah, but I want to be in the community where I live and give back to my community. And that's why I'm here, and that's why, hopefully it doesn't, harm me, but this is where I'm gonna be. So, and I wanna work with people that support me. Like I said, we don't always agree on things, but, yeah, that's it, thank you.
I know I said Liz might be the end. Chief Merle would like to speak. Very briefly.
Mayor and Council, when I took this position, you guys appointed me, I told you you're gonna have to run me out of this position, and I still stand strong with that. I don't plan on going anywhere. My concern is the fact that we have, I feel very strongly in this, a solid leader with Mr. Lynn. When you have the top of an organization that's chopped and cut out and removed from the equation that led effectively, the rest of your organization is gonna fall. What I've worked my behind off for, and the rest of the department have worked their behinds off for, to prove to the city that we can handle this job, and we can fill our vacancies, and we can do the job the right way it's supposed to be done, and I think we've proven that. My concern is that we're gonna start losing employees, and we're gonna be back to where we were. And that sickens me to think that that's gonna be a possibility. But I'm telling you, I believe that that is a honest to God fear of mine. And I'm not just speaking about the police department. My concern is citywide. My experience working on this, Mr. Lynn's been nothing but positive. We've disagreed, just like Ms. Cartwright said. We've disagreed, and we're able to talk through it and move forward. And no grudges be held. I'm not here to speak on the abundant list of issues. I'm here to speak on his character, his ability to lead effectively, and to call a spade. I think he's effectively done that. And I hope you guys don't run me off for speaking. Thank you.
I think that's all I have, Mr. Mayor, Council. Just, if I could just end it, in what I have, with just to reiterate, I do ask that you guys deliberate with whatever impartiality is at your disposal on the way for me to continue moving forward as Rincon City Manager. I love it working here. I'm overwhelmed by, the people that show up just to support and talk about, the character of somebody. You guys know it's hard to come back from something like this. Now that everything is out there and not having a chance, I just ask that, you guys deliberate on that. If I'm able to just make a quick address to the audience, just to thank everybody for coming, for whatever side they stand on. Everybody put in a full day at work for the most part, and they spent the last 3 hours here going through this, you guys included. So I just want to say to everybody, thank you for coming out. I appreciate you guys. I will say this, whatever y'all did tonight, whenever the budget process comes back up, make sure everybody takes a ticket to come back, because they never show up for a budget process, because that's not a sexy obsession that people have in this business. But I just ask that of you guys, and do put this out there. Should you guys continue with the termination tonight, I do want to ask what the next steps, if there are any, afforded to me for an appeal process, as with everything. My appeal will go to you guys, because the original appeal that we're here today for, because you guys made the decision. So as me as city manager, they would appeal my decision to you guys. Where is that next step for me? Is it Superior Court, or is there just not one? Because that this is it. So just, that have to be answered tonight. I'm just throwing that out there. So I thank you all for your time.
All right, does council have any questions for either parties that have presented or need to make any clarification or statements?
I do. Okay, John Clem's hired our HR person. There were problems, a lot of problems. I don't know why she wasn't let go then. She sent a check, an employee check to Germany when he was sitting in his office because our emails got hacked, which they would get hacked a lot until Jonathan fixed it. Also, our HR girl paid a check to a company that did work for the city. And our finance lady already paid the company $137,000 of our taxpayers' money. But the HR person took it upon herself to pay it as well. It took our finance lady 3 weeks to get it back. Okay, why she wasn't let go then, I have a problem with. Nobody's perfect. So we all need to just think about that. But $137,000, that's a biggie. That's all I have to say.
So, I said I wasn't gonna, I'm sorry, did you have something?
Are you moving on to
No,
potential for executive?
Yeah, I said I wasn't gonna really address anything because I did my own research about what an appeals hearing is and what it's all about. But I'm talking directly to Mr. Lynn right now, not anybody else. We have had one-on-one discussions via phone, in your office, some via email, and they all centered around a few things, and one of which was communication. I get it. We're not your hands-on, finger on the pulse. Well, let me rephrase that. I'm not. I'm not. But what I asked was communicate. Just let us know what's going on. You know, I listened to what everybody had to say. I went around and I talked to some people. Some are here, some are not. Some are watching online because they didn't want to come in. And it all centered from what, well, not all. Some of them said, hey, he didn't call me back. Sometimes he would, sometimes he did. But it all circled back to this. And that was when, regardless of how long it took, my situation got taken care of. And that's what I care about. A couple people have said a few things that kind of annoyed me a little bit because they click the click. Well, you know, I'm not a click person, right? As I've told everyone, I have my own mind. And I have constituents that come and talk to me. I have constituents that email me into all hours of the night. And now I'm looking at Kevin because Kevin himself has called me about some issues. Kevin has talked to me, emailed me. We've gone back and forth. But the bottom line is he is a city of Rincon resident. And when he says, hey, I got a problem, can you help me? That's what I do, right? I'm not a click person, right? So the bottom line, Jonathan, in saying all that, I'm just gonna go all the way around the world, right? But the bottom line is communication was what has always been my thing. And that's all I said about that. Yes, Damon.
Did you know what that meeting was about that we went into in person?
Yes, because I told you, I talked to the mayor. He called me.
Well, I didn't know that.
I can't explain why the mayor didn't call everybody. I didn't ask, did you call all of council? He was talking to me. That's up to him.
I did not know. I just explained it.
You know, I guess we have different people that we work easier with than others.
And you only
Sometimes that's not always the way it should be. but
That's the way everything's.
It's a challenge.
That's the way it always is.
What an answer.
Wow.
That's not transparency, sir. Council.
Openness, honesty, transparency, we talked about that at a council meeting, sir. More than once. Maybe we know what the problem was.
Did you have intentions on telling Damon and Michelle prior to the meeting? Or were you just gonna let them walk in blind? You had no intentions on telling them?
On the special call meeting,
Yeah.
that's
So why?
Because they only need 4 for the charter rules, and they had their 4.
So you chose the 4 that you knew were gonna say yes?
Exactly.
we had numerous conversations, and I knew where everybody fell on the issue.
You chose the ones that were gonna go along with you to get you what you needed.
Exactly,
That's right.
because it only takes 4 for their charter.
I hope y'all are hearing that.
Elections are coming, remember that.
Yeah.
And if you didn't hear, the person they all complained about the payroll, she's the one doing the payroll now. The one
That
that's
messed up two
fired,
officers.
they 1099 her back. But yes, let the intern tell us that we need to move it along over there. I'd like to see the signature on the executive session.
Council, do you have any other clarification or questions that we need to clear up? Well, we're at a point where a decision is to be made. We've got an issue before us. We have some options. We got an executive session on the agenda, but that's not, doesn't have to be. We've heard all the information. A motion could be in order if any action is to be taken at this point.
I make a motion, we give him the 10 days to gather his information since he didn't know any of the stuff that was brought before him.
That's right.
That's right.
That's fair.
That's fair.
And I hope that motion includes that he will be provided the information and any information you request in the time of fashion.
Yes, he needs to be provided any information he needs.
You guys think 10 days is sufficient for a man that didn't know any of that? I mean, that's not much time for him to get stuff together, I don't think, is it? I mean, a lot of this stuff that was up here on the screen was absolutely incorrect. She came up here and just said, you know, that she spent the money, and he was crucifying the man. So as a citizen, I mean, I'm blown away with what's going on here tonight.
Agreed.
Did
10 days is nothing to
Lynn,
clear your
Mr.
name.
Lynn not ask for 10 days?
He did.
I mean, you know what? I think he's confident and competent to, you know, here's where we at. We got facts and truths, all don't always abide together. Okay?
If y'all don't want that, make another thing. If y'all's opinion is different, speak up.
Motion on the floor, no second. Will someone second Michelle's motion?
We got a motion on the floor.
Modify that to 5.
Pardon me?
If you modify to 5, I'll second. 10, I think, is too low.
Modify to 5?
Clarify
Yeah,
that.
just leave it at
But can we get the information to him in a day?
If we have the information right now, it's simple to send over. He just put all of it up there.
Because you know, the government moves at a turtle space. You know, I mean, we move so slow. Is 5 days enough for you, Jonathan?
Boom, done.
I mean, I know, you have your children this
I would
weekend?
still ask for the 10 days, and that's still within the max of 45 days suspended with a pay afforded in the 2.28 of the city charter. It's like, it's a lot of information to get, and a lot to go through, and I'll probably have people that need to look at it too, as I move forward. You know, given everything the first time tonight, I just respectfully ask for that, because I've not seen any of this until tonight.
Patrick said he'd do 5.
There's a motion on the floor for 10, there's no in your motion for 10.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
No one wants to second your motion, I guess they need to make their own motion.
Exactly.
And you know, if we can just be beyond reproach, let's go not just 1 mile.
Yeah, if you wanna vote,
Let's
if
go
y'all wanna
5
vote, let's
business
do it
days
now.
excluding holidays, I mean, come on. Mr. Kirkland with the communication.
All right, we have a motion on the floor by Ms. Taylor to give an additional 10 days to Mr. Jonathan Lynn for a response. There's a motion there.
I mean, y'all gotta remember, y'all had a lot of time that y'all didn't tell him about anything. Y'all had plenty of time to gather your information with on each other, but he didn't have any time to prepare anything. He came off the cuff tonight. Is 10 business days, is that reasonable?
That isn't 10 additional days, that's just 10 days to mount his defense for
Of time of
himself.
receipt, right? Time of receipt tonight, he gets the information, or tomorrow, and then he has 10 business days. You guys had since when?
Okay.
Right, email me that, right, okay.
Any extension that you give, the charter says that you can only suspend for a period not to exceed 45 days.
So what would that be, Raymond?
That means that you would need to be back for a hearing within the 45-day period.
Starting when?
June 1st.
June 1st.
Yeah, June.
So July 15th.
Plenty of time.
Yes,
And
sir.
with the charter.
That's something that you're going to have to call a special meeting.
Well, that doesn't seem to be a problem.
I can't wait for you. It's gonna be a blast. All right, so I'm gonna say one more time, we've got a motion on the floor and the opportunity for a second.
Yes, it is.
Okay, if there is not a second, the motion fails as a result of no second. Any other motions that might
That's
be made?
bold.
That's political suicide.
Mayor, I'll say this. Jonathan came in September, really everything going on. That's the reason we hired a city manager, because we know we need someone to run the city and to make sure we correct some of these things. Some are higher priorities than others. It blew me about the employee. I did not know about insurance. When I found out about it, we talked about it, and we talked to Jonathan about it, and we thought it was handled. You can blame it on the HR girl, but in essence, Jonathan is responsible.
But man,
What about Clem?
Excuse me, Merle, we need some quiet in here right now. While I speak. Thank you.
You're the only one that can talk?
No, I'm talking now, and I've got the floor, so when I finish, then you can talk.
Can we talk to Mr. Dickey about that?
I don't have to talk to Mr. Dickey, I know that I have the floor now. And, yes, we talked to Jonathan about some issues. A lot of these issues, we talked about policy, procedure, and yes, Jonathan improved. Coming up to his evaluation, he improved. But it didn't last long. He went right back to the basics.
Make a motion.
And the thing is, it's just not the people in this room that we're responsible. It's for other people who didn't even come in here. And when we walk out here, regardless of knowing what we know, and some of this stuff is factual. Elizabeth got up and talked about the food she bought, that's good. But what about the other procedures that are put in place to help stop some of these federal governments and stuff that are officers that are in prison now? Because they did not follow the procedure that was set forth in. David's sitting in that corner there. David, how many times have I gone out where citizens have been all over you about your job? What have I told you? I'm sorry. You don't be mad with David. You get mad with me and the rest of the council. Because those policies, he gets up just like the next man every morning and goes to work. And when he gets to work, there's procedures set aside and guidelines for David to do his job. And it's the same thing with Jonathan. It's the same thing with you on your job.
You're 100% right.
And we talked about this stuff. We sat down and talked, and we gave him an evaluation. Yes, we did. We were compassionate then, at that moment. We did not expect for it to come back. And things happen in mysterious ways, because had not we found out what had been going on and all this back stuff, we would have been in a mess 5, 6 months down the road. And we still got to account for some of this stuff that came forward. But the bottom line is, there are some issues that we have to address. We address them. I want to spend the rest of the week and the rest of this year home restless, wondering whether it's coming back again? No, I do not. So in order for this, I offer a motion that we terminate Jonathan Lynn.
I have a question, Scott. Ms. Scott, you said you had floor, you said take question now. Why did we bring that same payroll person back in to do payroll this last pay period?
We have a motion on the floor. Let me see if there's a second, and then there's discussion.
You've already sequestered me last time. I mean, kept me out of the loop before. Why are you gonna stop now?
Who wants to bet this motion gets second? I mean, really. Out of any one of the other three, it's gonna be the same 4 every time. So, like I said, political suicide.
I'm betting Mr. Kirkland.
No, I'm going Reese.
Yeah, for sure.
Already have.
Yeah, there we
So you're
go.
afraid
I
of
just
that.
did.
It's perfect, love that, I win.
Damn it.
And I have a motion by Mr. Scott, second by Mr. Brower to terminate Mr. John Lynn as city manager of the city of Rankin. Any other question or discussion? Mr. Ron?
Yes. To answer that question I asked, why did we bring Kim back in to do payroll if she was so incompetent? We let her go.
I didn't know we didn't back.
What, you just said, hold on, let me finish. You just said, don't blame David, blame you. You're responsible for the city. Why did you, and you, and you, and you, and you, bring her back in to do payroll again if she's that incompetent?
Who's brought her back in?
You're telling me she didn't do payroll this last pay period?
I don't know that she done payroll.
She did do it.
So, let me answer what I know. Let me answer what I know. I'm gonna tell you what I know. Damon, if you give me a minute, this is what I know. What I got told was that we had a problem with payroll, and the only person that knew how to do it was Mr. Lynn. Mr. Lynn was not here. So we brought somebody in that used to do payroll. I did not know it was Kim. I did not know that it was Kim. But listen, let me finish. My concern, let me talk, please. My concern is making sure the employees are paid. I don't care who does it. I don't care who does it. I care that they got paid. And I understand 100%. And I just found this out myself earlier in the week. I did not know.
I would have told you earlier if I didn't know you were leaking to everybody else.
What?
If I would have known that you could keep it between me and you, I would have told you, but I found out about it. Why do I know things? Why does
I don't know.
this recreation department still sitting there? Why do these citizens know more about what's going on than the people on the bench up here?
If Mr. Scott would have called me off the record weeks ago like he said he was gonna, I'd like to kept him in the loop. Remember when you asked me to come up there? I'm gonna call you off the record. I never heard from you. I'd have kept you in the loop, Mr. Scott.
Well, I mean, the reason, I like to get out here tonight because I'm dealing with a wife that's going through heart.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And,
This man's dealing with.
I have a life as well.
He's also about to lose his job. And he bought a house here because we had confidence in him to be the person to run the city. But we never gave him the opportunity to run the city.
Correct.
Because we micromanaged.
That's your opinion.
That's your opinion.
That's your business, you're on city council.
That's your opinion. No, it's our opinion. Remember?
We have
It's
a
whoever
motion.
who you all work for.
It's whoever.
You all get elected by us, the people. Remember that. And
But you speak
elections
for
are coming.
yourselves and not us. You're speaking on what you guys want and what you guys think instead of hearing us. You've sat right here tonight and listened to everything Raymond Dickey had to say and nothing that the people had to say. You haven't heard about everything that Jonathan has done and how good he's been and all the accomplishment that he's done. It wasn't what you wanted in your guidelines, your little clique policies, if you will. Jonathan has done so much for the city in 7 months. Why did we have so many city managers that can't do those same accomplishments that keep getting let go? Did they not fall into your policies either? They didn't do what you guys wanted?
We have a motion on the floor and a second. If there's any other question or discussion from council at this time, if not, we're prepared to vote. All right, Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Brower? Mr. Blackwell?
Abstain.
Ms. Taylor?
No.
And Mr. Kirkland?
No.
Good.
Good job, Patrick.
Good.
The mayor gets the vote.
You know, I've heard it, and it's kinda, we've had our differences, I know, and hopefully we have made good efforts to try to correct them. And, there's some things that are just so glaring and bothersome in many ways. But, I don't know that we've really been fair to Mr. Lynn. And I'm gonna vote no. That being the case, the vote is, 3 noes, 1 abstain, and 2 yes. So the motion fails by the vote. Is there any need to go into an executive session? If not, motion to adjourn is in order.
Well, you need to determine whether or not he's back as city manager.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what that vote did.
Okay. Well, I mean, so we're, by that no vote, we're putting him back in his position.
Let me read it again.
Can we go into executive session with Mr. Lynn? I would like to go into I make a motion to go into executive session with Mr. Lynn.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't the attorneys would do. Not that one.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Kirkland and a second by Mr. Scott to go into executive session. Any other question or discussion? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Brower? Yes. Mr. Blackwell?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Kirkland?
Yes.
All right,
Sure, absolutely, absolutely.
we're now in executive session, folks.